Hello and welcome to the fourth round of the European Porsche Cup, hosted by GRL, and we'll be going right in. Now, this is the third race of the season, so we are hoping for some very exciting racing, and I do expect some very exciting racing, as many of these drivers do have hopes of winning this championship. Among them, of course, on screen right now, Joshua Wills. He had a great performance in the Quali for Fuji last week. So we'll see what he can do here in Imola. He will be the first guy to set a lap in this practice session with a 1:45.2. Now, when the practice progresses, we will see some numbers for what the times will look like for this race, and I'm personally very interested in that. Now, qualifying starts in 50 minutes, so there's still a lot of time to go until the race starts. So today, I think we're back to the original format, which is one heat, 15 minutes, and afterwards a 30-minute heat with a reverse grid for the top 8 drivers. And qualifying will start at 9 p.m. Seems I'm having some issues with the stream. I do hope. Okay, now it has gotten better. So, one 15-minute heat, afterwards a 30-minute heat, and that will be it for today. I will have to adjust the sound a bit here. It's a bit loud in my ears. So yeah, Joshua Wills has now gone down to 3rd place, which means both Mats Strand and Daniel Thomas, with Daniel Thomas being one of the fastest guys here in the league. And they both have set faster lap times than him, and by a lot. Joshua Wills now 1.5 seconds down, and we'll see how this develops. Now, one of the guys. It's at a fast lap time. This is Daniel Thomas, who should currently be the leader of the championship, at least in the pro category. And he is followed by Daniel J. Thomas, not Daniel J. Thomas, by Peter Sigda, who has not joined yet. Or he has joined, but he hasn't set a lap yet. So very excited about that. It'll be very interesting to see this fight for the Pro Class Championship here today. Now, both drivers have attended every single race until now, including this one. So we'll see. Now, someone new in the Pro Championship, of course, Julian Garcias, who at least last race was still in the amateurs category, but the league has found that he was too fast and is now has now moved up in category. So he's currently on 5th and could make some moves up the order, as he's only 32 points behind Daniel Thomas, and these guys have been earning 50, 60 or even 70 points per race, just as a frame of reference. So Daniel Thomas, his lead isn't as concrete as it seems for the moment. And yeah. Now currently faster than Daniel Thomas is Mats Strand, who we saw last season, I think it was in the second to last race in the pro category, a very fast driver, who has now also joined in this season. He has gotten a bit of a late start, as he is now only joining in the third race of the season. So he does have a huge disadvantage for points wise, but I don't think that will stop him from doing the best he can. And I'm personally very excited for what he will do today. Now another contender for the Pro Championship will be Christopher Smith, who is currently here in 4th for the championship as well, which means he's 29 points behind Daniel Thomas, and Julian Garcias, who I've talked about before, is only 3 points behind. So this could be very interesting. Now, granted, we would need Julian Garcias to show up to have an exciting battle, but he was here for the first 2 races of the season, so hopefully he'll be here for the third. And now, I think so. The first 4 of the pro category at least are here. Then let's move on to the amateurs category. At the top, Dennis Blomert, who is already doing his laps, right here in 6th position. Currently in the lead with 90 total points, and he's followed by Tom Carter, who is only 3 points behind. Now, Tom Carter, I don't believe... Oh, he has joined already, but he hasn't gone out yet. So there will be a fight for the lead in the Amateurs Championship. In third, currently Neil Killen, one of the organizers for this league, who is also here today. And he is 19 points behind Dennis Blomart, which means he is a bit further back, but that doesn't mean anything. This could still be a very interesting battle for P1. And of course Sebastian Ferreira in P4 in the standings. I don't know if he is on the server already. Doesn't seem like it at the moment. Let's just hope he'll join, as he's only 20 points behind Dennis Blumert, the leader, and only 1 point behind Neil Killen, who is only 1 point ahead. So he could take a podium position for this championship this evening if he shows up. And yeah, P5 will be Simon Geimer, whose name I've mispronounced for a very long time. I hope I've gotten it right now. And he will be in 5th for the Amateurs Championship with only 23 points to the leader Dennis Blumert. Now we are looking at Frederik Smid currently, who is in P7 in the championship with only 42 points to the leader. So still everything really close here at the GRL European Porsche Cup. And I think we've got a very exciting race on our hands. Now currently Mats Strand, fastest time out of all the drivers, with a 1:43.4. I don't know what times to expect from these esports drivers, but I would expect them to go a bit higher, at least for qualifying, as we're still very early into practice. Only 18 minutes have passed, and I do believe there's still a bit of time to gain for these drivers. Frederik Smid currently driving slowly. That could have a plethora of reasons, but we can see some dust going out of the car. So maybe he went off track, had a little crash. We don't know. I will take a look back at Christopher Smith, who is going out on another fast lap. I think that in the back should be Peter Sichter, who is in a very similar livery today. So I think the best bet to tell these guys apart will be their car number, which is 18 and 175 respectively. And the top three already really close, only 0.12 seconds between them. So let's see how this all turns out. Mats Strand taking a lot of curb there, even going over the sausages. Question is, will that be the fastest way? Because he doesn't seem to be using them much right now. Or it could have been a mistake. It'll be interesting to see what lines these drivers will choose. He's going slowly at the moment, so he's probably given up on his lap. So we'll go back to Christopher Smith, who is currently doing a fast lap. Now this is turn, I think, 7 he's going in right now. So about halfway done with the track at the moment. And a very aggressive driving style here. You can see the rear rotating very well. And that's what you need to do to be at the top here. A very contested championship, you could say. Now, John Bailiff currently in 4th with only 0.2 seconds to the leader in terms of time. So top 4 now really close together. That could be very interesting for the qualifying. And we will see it now. Qualifying did not reflect the race results last time. As Daniel Thomas, who didn't qualify first, ended up winning the last one and was also very competitive for the other 2 races. So it'll be interesting to see if these guys can take a good qualifying position. Now 23 minutes have passed of practice. We look at another driver right now, which will be we'll be looking at Christian Maltorek in this beautiful red livery. Driving with the number 17 is currently the 5th fastest driver with a 1:43.8. I think we have seen him before in this championship. At least in the last race of the last season, of season 16, I believe. So he is back. I think he wasn't here, or he was here for the first race of the season. And he is in the pro category. He is currently in 9th. And it's 80 points to gain if he wants to reach Daniel Thomas. Now, attendance is a huge part of this series, as there are a lot of points on the table. If you don't attend the race, you could lose up to 60 points in the case of Christian Maltorek, as he got 65 points in the first race and 0 in the second, as he did not attend. And Bartosz Kluziewicz, who is in P11 in the championship for the pro category, did not attend the first race, and he will have 96 points to gain if he wants to reach Daniel Thomas. Now he is also running a beautiful red livery, and he will cross the line in just a second. We'll see what time he'll do. A 1:43.9, which will be his new fastest lap time. I think it was about 0.02 seconds faster than his previous fastest lap time. So there is some improvement, but not enough to challenge the guys at the top. Now Christopher Smith has moved up into P2 with a time of 1:43.53. So these gaps are closing. And Mats Strand, the currently the fastest guy, is not out on track anymore. And Peter Sigter the only guy out right now in that fight for the podium, at least there in practice, is Peter Sigda, who could be dangerous to their positions, as he is still one of the top contenders for the Pro Championship. And that will be a time of 1:43.9. So Bartosz Kruziewicz constantly improving his lap times around here, and he is getting closer to Mats Strand, slowly but surely. And we'll see where this leads him. So just about half an hour left until qualifying begins. And it is looking like Christian Malczarek is on P1, at least for now, with a 1:43.39. Ahead of Daniel Thomas, who has also overtaken Mats Strand, but these gaps are still really close. Only about 0.07 seconds between Mats Strand and Christian Malczarek. So pace doesn't give or take much here. It'll be interesting to see if these guys can set these times in qualifying, or if someone else can maybe even set some better lap times. Now, at the moment, I still don't see Julian Casius in the server. Or maybe he won't be able to enjoy as full of a fight for the pro category as at least I expected. But I think it will still be really good with the top four are all being here. And I think from P6 to P9 at least, everyone's here. So it could be very interesting, but I'm still hoping for Julian Casius to hop in here and be able to fight for his 5th position in the pro category. And Christian Malczarek will end his practice run. We'll look at Peter Sigda, who has set the new fastest lap with a 1:43.1. And that makes him 0.3 seconds faster than the rest of the field. Now that is a huge pace advantage, and we'll see how this affects the rest of the race. If he can keep up that pace. Now Bartosz Kruziewicz with a 1:43.56. Now also a bit closer to Mats Strand, who set that really fast lap time before. So he is also improving and showing that he deserves to be moved up to pro. I do believe that he was in the amateurs category last season, so he has moved up. Now, of course, Daniel Thomas is back out to get a bit closer to Peter Sichter with that incredible 143. But this is only his outlap, so you will have to take a bit of time to warm up his tires and everything, though he seems to have sped up the process a little bit right there. Daniel Thomas, I think, is currently the... Bartosz Turkiewicz with a 143.43 now in P3, which means he's ahead of Daniel Thomas, who, along with Peter Sichter, has been dominating this league in the pro category. Daniel Thomas now on his first flying lap. I think the tires are still too cold to really get into the faster lap times, but we'll still see what he can do. Now, last week with the super heats, as they are called, so with the 3 shorter races instead of the 2 longer races, there was a lot of racing action, and I am honestly a bit sad that we don't have it again this time around. But I think those longer heats will still bring heaps of racing action. And they do, and they are great for longer lasting battles, which I think we'll see with the pace of everyone being so close together. Now we have a very full grid already, with I think 25 cars on the server right now. Let's see if it fills up even more, but this would be more than satisfying for now. And Daniel Thomas will go around these last couple of corners and onto the start-finish straight, where he'll finish with a time of 1:43.3, which will put him in P2. And it will close the gap down to Peter Sichter, who is still up front with a very, very quick time. Now only 0.2 seconds between the first and the second driver. And Daniel Thomas is still out there to get a faster lap time in. It was only his first fast lap in this stint, I would call it. So maybe there's still some time on the table. Maybe we'll see. We are watching an incredible lap right now. And this lap could take him from P2 to P1 before qualifying starts. Down into the hard braking zone for turn 14 he goes, and he'll exit P15. He'll go, he'll actually turn 15 again, the start finish straight. and finished the lap with a time of 1:43.239. So only 0.16 seconds now to leader Peter Sigter. It is getting close in here. Now Simon Geimer has joined. Who's also an important character for, I think it's the Amateurs Championship. Yes, he is currently in P5, which means he's only 23 points behind the leader Dennis Blomart. So now I think for the amateurs category as well, there are many of the top contenders in the server. So Dennis Blomart, we have and Daniel Thomas will spin out on the exit of that chicane. That's turn 12. And he'll go back to the pits. Probably a bit frustrated. That could have been a great lap. And there's some competition to worry about. Christian Maltrek also on some fast laps. But it seems like he's still warming up his tires. Last lap was a 2 minute 8 seconds and 40. Now let's just quickly go through the list here for the contenders in the amateurs category. It was not Dennis Blomart, the leader of the championship. We already saw him, I think. As he is currently in P8. And so he's here now. Tom Carter, the second in this championship, is also here. He hasn't started a lap yet. Neil Killen, we already talked about, and Sebastian Ferreira has joined as well. Simon Geimer, we already talked about. Kerry Corcoran, who is in P6 with 32 points to Dennis Blomart, is also here. And is out on a lap, it seems. Rex Smith, we already talked about. Simon Zaug, not here right now. So up to P8, everyone's here. And everyone will be fighting. For the amateurs category. Now Daniel Thomas has gone out again. And this is currently his out lap we're looking at. So he'll go out for his first lap in just a second. But do keep in mind that these tires are still very, very cold. And he probably won't be able to drive a quick lap with these tires. Is this iRacing? Someone asked in chat. This is indeed. Now Mats Strand has gone out again, and he has closed down the gap a bit now with his time of 1:43.19. So gaps to Peter Sigter, who has not been able to improve his time, are closing down. And someone's off there in the gravel. But currently 26 drivers here to fight for this race. It will happen in just a second. And up front there is a, I presume, British driver. That will be Owen Goodrum. A very strong contender in the last race on Fuji. And he has changed his livery, it seems. And you're seeing here already the track is getting very full. It's getting harder and harder to set those fast lap times. And quali is also getting ever closer with only 17 minutes remaining in this practice session. And after that we will go up to qualifying, which will also be very packed with these many cars on the track. Matstrand trying to overtake them, but no luck, just a bit too slow there to overtake. And that golden and green car still standing there on the sidelines. Matstrand will be forced to follow the number 88. That will be the car of Mark Verlinden, a Dutch driver who currently has his car on P13, 1.6 seconds to Peter Sichter. In terms of times, we're really close here, especially the top 7, and then from P8 onwards as well. So it will be a very interesting race. We'll see how everyone performs. I think Julian Casillas still missing, so he'll probably fall out of contention for the Pro Championship. Or at least for now. We'll wait and see. He still has about 15 minutes to join. But he will have some pretty fierce competition. Peter Sichter going very wide there. But it seems like that wasn't considered an off track. Or maybe it was. But it doesn't show me it right now it doesn't show it to me right now, so it doesn't seem like it was counted as one. Though there's some very weird track usage. And Peter Sichter will cross the line with a time of 1:45.6, so not his best time of the day. Could have been that he's out on a different setup, or that he's still warming up those tires. Either way, competition is closing in, and we'll have some very fierce competition this race. But it looks like for now he'll be the fastest driver out, and with him being the second in the championship, this could turn out very interesting. Now it's only 13 minutes remain. Until the race starts, or until qualifying starts. We'll take a look a bit further down the field at Joshua Wills, one of the competitors for the Pro Championship. Now, it could be that he's just driven a race setup while all the others have been doing laps in their quali setup. But he is very slow at the moment with 1.4 seconds to the leader. Fastest lap currently is a 1:44.5. And he is on an outlap, so he still has some time. Catch up to the guys in front. Daniel Thomas now, a time of 1:43.1, which will set him 0.04. Peter Sigter has crashed. So that will put an end to his attempt at getting a faster lap time. Mats Strand still out there. This could be very interesting. Now Mark de Bruyne has now set a 1:44.67, which puts him into P12. Now temperatures in Europe have calmed down a bit. I think the last couple of races the drivers really had to fight with the temperatures in their rooms during the race. I've heard some people are doing the race with 32 or something degrees in the room. So that probably won't be an issue anymore this time around. At least for the European drivers. But there are only 10 minutes of practice left. Joshua Wills still doing some more laps. And it will be going towards the faster ones as he has completed his outlap. His side's gotten a bit more warm now, but I don't think we'll see some P1 worthy pace quite yet, at least. Now these races are a bit late, at least here in Europe, and of course it's on a Sunday as well. And these races go for to about, I think it's 10 o'clock or something in Central European time. So not as late as some other leagues, but it might still conflict with some of these guys' sleep schedule. Yeah, and of course Sunday evening does mean you're pretty rested so you might be able to perform a bit better. But we'll see. Now, Peter Sigter out again. And his car doesn't seem to have much sound for some reason. That is very weird. I've never experienced that back in iRacing. Interesting. But oh well, we'll move on. Oh, there is a sound. Now we have sound for Peter Sigter's car. That is looking like a very quick lap. You can see these pros are cutting a lot of the exit of that corner. I think that's that is turn 10. Now through the chicane, Peter Sigter goes down towards turn 14. Should mean a very hard braking zone right here. And then you'll have to get this double left-hander right. And there'll only be 7 minutes left until qualifying starts. And across the line with Peter Sigter, and he'll be setting a lap time of 1:44.4. Now, if you've looked at the pits right there, you've seen a lot of drivers have already stopped their practice session attempts. So it is getting a bit quieter on the track, which will be beneficial for Peter Sigter when he's turning his laps right now. So we might see some more improvement. Of course, the track has progressed. I don't know with how much grip the session starts, but depending on how much, this could mean that the drivers have way better grip now than they did at the start of the session. That car is still standing still. I wonder who that is. No, I don't think there's any way of finding that out right now. Now Peter Sigter through that chicane again. We watched him go through it and a couple of times now, and down towards turn 14. Now this is looking promising. This could be a new fastest lap time for the session. But I shouldn't get ahead of myself, as he'll still need to do that last corner, which was very close, almost touched that gravel there, which costs a lot of time. But he is through with a time of 1:43.6. So there is still some time on the table for him if he wants to improve his lap time, of course. He still has 5 minutes to do that. That is a slow car right there. I think that's the 50 or 62 right there. I don't know who exactly that is. We'll have a quick look. It should be Mark de Breen. He is currently going a bit slow. Now through that last chicane goes Peter Sigter again. And we'll see if he can set a better lap time now. Last two corners, a very difficult part of the track, especially since you're going downhill for the braking zone. So you do need to brake a lot earlier than you might expect. Daniel Thomas has set a new fastest lap time, which is not enough to pass Daniel Thomas, but it closes the gap, and Peter Sigter will not be able to improve his lap time and will go back to the pits. And he will wait patiently for qualifying. Now Daniel Thomas still out on the hunt. Now that was a really quick lap there just now. So now the question is, will he be able to close the gap even more or even overtake Peter Sigter? No, he won't, because he has stopped his practice attempt right now as well. So it will be on Joshua Wills to see if he can close the gap. Of course, a big competitor for the pro category. At least I think he was something like P1 in quali for the last race. So this is probably not where he expected to be after qualifying, with 1.1 seconds between him and Peter and Mats Strand, who has just had a lap time of 1:43.01. So we're not into the 32s just yet, but Mats Strand will take the top of the leaderboard as practice comes to an end. Joshua Wills will set a lap time of 1:44.43, which will not be an improvement. So he'll be stuck with P8 for now. Now right behind him we have Dennis Blomert, who is in the amateurs category. So we might see those categories mixing again as we did last race with Julian Casius, who was classified in the amateurs category at first, at least, fighting for P2 in last week's race. Now only 1.5 minutes remain, and Joshua Wills full push to maybe get some more, to maybe get a time that's a bit better than his current one. And he's catching up to the number 225, who is stopped at the side of the road. That should be Simon. It is Simon Zauk who has joined last minute. So both Swiss drivers are now here, and our amateurs in our amateur category fight has gotten even bigger. Now I'm very excited for this qualifying that's about to happen right now. Now Joshua Arendt, number 99, currently P22, will go out to complete a bit of the next lap at least before qualifying starts, as it will just cut off when the 1 hour mark is reached. And now I think it's time to end practice and start with quali. We will take a quick ad break right now, and we'll be back in just a second for qualifying. So we are back for qualifying, and we'll look at Harold van Herde, who was the second guy to get out of the pits, and he's chasing down the number 60 of Daniel Thomas, who's doing his best to break the draft a little bit, as Harold van Herde is not in his competition, but he's not trying to give extra time to anyone. Now Harold van Herde, I believe, is in the amateurs category, if I believe that correctly, so we might see some line differences right here. Now, I think the first one was, of course, Harold van Her did not use as much curb on the exit as Daniel Thomas. So I can't see. There he is. So Harold van Herde currently P11 in the amateurs category. And now they will go out for the first lap. We'll go on board with Daniel Thomas, who is leading the pack. And he will be letting Harold van Herde pass, I believe. Or, wait, who is that? That could be the number 99 we saw before. We were watching at the end of the practice. Now, number 99, I can't seem to find him right now. So this would be number 99. Okay, so it's obviously not him. Daniel Thomas seems like he's having a hard time keeping up with that car in front. It could maybe be Peter Sigter. So we are now on board with the car, and it will be the 175. Driven by Christopher Smith, down towards turn 14, very hard braking zone right here. And you'll be getting a bit of understeer into that corner and a bit of oversteer in the exit, which will definitely compromise this lap. Fighting very hard with that steering wheel to get it to do what he wants. And cutting as much as he can on the outside there. Or on the inside, I mean. Now the first 4 minutes of qualifying have already passed Daniel Thomas with a 150.3. Joshua Wills with a 150.6. Now John Bailiff with a 150.3. Dennis Blomart, the current leader in the Amateurs Championship, with a 149.7. This is crazy action we're having right here already. Peter Sigter with a very slow lap at the moment, really far back, and Friak Smith with a 150.1. So these drivers are looking really, really quick in their first laps already, and these are both drivers that I think are in the amateurs category. But we've already seen with last week, with the case of Julian Cassius, that the category you're placed in doesn't really have anything to say about your pace. So this is an interesting development. And now Kerry Corcoran, of all people, with a 148.4, and Mark between a 145.9. That is a crazy time. I don't know, is it his... I think it should be his first lap. That is very, very quick. But now Christopher Smith, who we are on board with right now, will have to do those last two corners. And this is looking a bit better than last time. Not as much oversteer on the exits. And he's not wrestling with the wheel as hard as he was before. Now down towards the start-finish line. Marino Kolarek, a time of 1:49 up to P4, and Christopher Smith with a time of 1:43.9. Into the lead, Daniel Thomas right behind him with a 1:44.1. Then John Bailiff 1:44.7. Harold van Herde with a 1:45.0. So these times are a bit slower than what we saw in practice. Now, what I'm a bit confused about is where is Mats Strand? He is on P17 at the moment, so very, very far back. Interesting to see where he's headed. And we'll be looking at the last lap of Christopher Smith. So they are only allowed to do 2 flying laps. I don't know if he has already done 2 of those, or if this lap he's on currently still counts. Bartosz Kurdziewicz with a 1:43.44.3 into P3. Very interesting what's going on here. And down towards turn 14 and 15 goes Christopher Smith. Now this is looking very smooth compared to the other 2 times we've seen him go through here, and he will go into the pits, so his qualifying attempt is over. But Harold van Herdes is not. Harold van Herde will cross the line with a time of 1:44.3 to put him up to P4. Daniel Thomas will not improve on his time. And now, who is out right now? John Bailiff is. And he is going on another flying lap, it seems. Currently P6. But he wants to catch up to the front of the field. Now Mats Strand. Where is Mats Strand? That is the question. There he is, and he'll be finishing his lap with a time of 1:44.0, which will catapult him into P2 out of nowhere. Mats Strand. Now, of course, we saw his performance in qualifying, and this is still incredible. 1:44.0, and Bartosz Kurdziewicz up into P3. Exciting things going on right here. This is 0:09 by Patrick Rosendahl, which I think we saw standing in the gravel for a very long time. We'll go back up to Mats Strand, who's just a bit ahead of him. Now it seems like he is going on another lap. So those 0.03 seconds could be melting away any second. Mats Strand will could take pole position here. Only 1 minute left in qualifying. This is getting very, very close. Now Daniel Thomas into pole position with a 1:43.2. That is 0.7 seconds faster than the previous pole time. Now Mats Strand will round the last corner and go towards the start-finish line, and that will be a time of, what will it be? It will be a 1:43.7. So P3 for Mats Strand, Daniel Thomas in 1, John Bailiff on 2, Peter Sichter in 4th, Christopher Smith in 5th, Bartosz Kurdziewicz in 6th, and Harold van Herde in 7th. Joshua Wills in P8. Very exciting things going on here. Now I'm a bit too scared to miss the start of this one, to go into a net break. We'll be patiently waiting for the start to commence. Now this could be very interesting. Daniel Thomas, one of the fastest drivers in the league, of course, and John Bailiff wasn't looking too well in the championship. Now this could be of course attributed to the incidents he had in Fuji, but in Virginia he wasn't looking too great on points either. So we'll see where this lands him. Now Daniel Thomas has been dominating this league, so it's not surprising to see him on P1. And Peter Sichter also very strong in this league, but he only in P4. So not long remains until the start. I am very, very excited. Now Daniel Thomas still not on the grid. I think there's only half a minute left. And there he is, Daniel Thomas. I'm just looking for the best view to watch the start. I think this is it. As we're looking onto the field, John Bailiff now he has the chance to gain some points in the championship standings, currently on P7, and he will probably get oh, it is already lights and 5 red lights, and it will be lights out for the first race here in Imola for the GRL Porsche Cup. Now Daniel Thomas can get the jump on the start. Matstrand instantly fighting with John Bailiff. Matstrand will go to the inside for the first corner, and right behind him is Peter Sigda. In P4, Christopher Smith in P5, and John Bailiff will already lose his first position, and he is not looking great to fight against Peter Sigda. Peter Sigda has now gotten the advantage because of the mistake that John Bailiff had. Oh, he was lacking some momentum out of the corner because he was fighting with Matstrand. Matstrand now, of course, does have a bit of a gap to protect him. They're already forming a line here, so everything has already calmed down a bit. Oh, but what is happening down the field? These guys are going like 50 wide. Incredible racing down to the inside. Is looking Tom Carter, but Dennis Blumert will stay strong, will stay on this line. And that will prevent Tom Carter from going down the inside, but they're still looking really close. And there is, of course, Joao Gabriel in front with the number 591. And I think Dennis Blumert wants to overtake, but now that has lost him a lot of time to the Brazilian driver. So there is too much of a gap now to attempt an overtake. Now, if we look at John Bailiff against Peter Sigda, Peter Sigda has gone down the inside. And now there's another driver trying to go down the inside. That will be Christopher Smith. And he has touched John Bailiff on the back. That almost killed John Bailiff again. I did have some flashbacks to the last race, if I'm being honest here. But now Bartosz Kruziewicz against Christopher Smith. To the outside goes Bartosz Kruziewicz. Now he's back behind. And he will be down the inside goes Bartosz Kruziewicz. But there will be no overlap for the first corner, so he will have to stay behind. And oh, this is incredible racing we're witnessing right now. So Bartosz Kruziewicz staying behind patiently, and of course Christopher Smith has his eyes set on John Bailiff, who has not had the best of starts. 2 positions lost for him. And the battle in front not looking too promising, but Joshua Wills starts at P8 and is currently also on P8, but he has to fight against Sander Trachier, who has already gained 2 positions, who is on his way up the order right now, and who is hungry for some position. Now Neil Killen against Mark Verlinden. They are basically bumper to bumper. Neil Killen will look down the inside, but he will decide to stay behind. Oh, and Sander Trachier, we saw him in the back there, completely off track. That will lose him a lot of time, and I think that battle with Joshua Wills is now settled. But Neil Killen against Mark Verlinden. Now that gap is growing. Now, what are we looking at? I think someone has had an issue. That should be, I think it's... No, it's not Marczarek, it's Sander Trachier, who was off the track before. Oh, and now Neil Killen is looking to take the position from Mark Verlinden. Down the inside goes Neil Killen, and they'll be side by side going towards the first corner. Now Neil Killen has his nose up front, and he will have the inside, so he will make it stick. Now instantly counter-attack by Mark Verlinden, and he will have to concede a position for now. And now Dennis Blumert from behind sneaking up, and if Mark Verlinden keeps fighting with Neil Killen, maybe Dennis Blumert will take advantage. Maybe Dennis Blumert can gain a position here. And it's still very early into the race, and there's already a lot of exciting things going on. Simon Zaug against, who is that? Marino Kolarik. 0.2 seconds between the drivers, and now going down towards what is that? I think it's turn 9 and 10. Oh, we heard some tires sliding. That could have been an incident that was just off camera. Simon's not being able to do much here. So the lead has been pretty much settled. I would have thought there would be a lot more fighting, but up to P7 it looks pretty settled for now. Matstrand up to P2, of course. Daniel Thomas in P1, the championship leader. And Joshua Wills, normally in the pro category, now has to fight with Harold van Herde and the amateur category. And behind is Christian Malczarek. No. So there is not much going on right now. It's said that Joshua Arendt had a crash, so we'll be taking a look at that. That could be what we had the tires reaching for. Oh, and just got a bit onto the grass there. Instantly back to pits. That seems to sadly be it for this race. But now this battle is heating up. Harold van Herde has to defend against Joshua Wills, a pro driver. Now, as I did already establish this, this category doesn't have anything to say about pace, but it is a pretty, it should normally be a good indicator of the skill level. So we'll see if Joshua Wills can do anything against Harold van Herde. Now they're bumper to bumper basically. Will Joshua Wills straight down the inside? No, he will stay behind for this corner. And some very close racing right here. I'm surprised the iRacing netcode hasn't done anything funny yet. Now it's bumper to bumper for these two drivers. Joshua Wills will go down the inside, so it'll be too wide for the first corner. And Joshua Wills will get the move done, will move up into P7. And Christian Malczarek right behind, already looking for a gap in Harold van Herde's driving. He will find one. Down the inside goes Christian Malczarek. And he'll go through to 8th position. Harold van Herde has lost 2 positions. Oh no, he hasn't. Harold van Herde has gotten a great launch out of that corner. He'll go to the outside of Christian Malczarek. But now he has to worry about Sander Trachier, who has tried to go down the inside, but has decided to stay behind for now. This is incredible battling we are watching right here. Sander Trachier still bumper to bumper with Harold van Herde. This is looking phenomenal. Now the big question: can Harold van Herde maybe make some positions back? Christian Malczarek is not far in front, only about 0.3 seconds. Oh no, it is 0.5 seconds. So not a huge gap. That's something you can gain back, especially since Christian Malczarek doesn't have any slipstream whatsoever. Well, Harold van Herde can use the slipstream to close in on the straights at least. But he is losing a lot of time through the corners. That could be the deciding factor for this race. Now 9 minutes have already passed. So more than half of the race has already been completed. And the field has sadly split up a lot already. So less fighting than we saw last week, sadly. But Dennis Blumert will probably give us some racing action. Neil Killen against Sander Trachier. Sander Trachier onto the gravel, onto the outside, and that is Blumat down the inside of Neil Killen. And who is that? Number 88 trying to make it free wide, trying to do a move around the outside. Dennis Blumat will slot in front of, or he will try to slot in front of Neil Killen, but has now touched his left front quarter panel. But Dennis Blumat is through, no doubt about it. But Mark Verlinden still fighting with the two guys behind. That will be Sander Trachier and of course Patrick Rosendahl. And Sander Trachier, he will try and close the gap and maybe go for a cheeky dive into the next corner. And that was very wide for the number 88 of Mark Verlinden. And it could give Sander Trachier the opportunity to get past. But the gap is opening up. So he's defending very well. We'll look up the order as Christopher Smith and John Bailiff will now be fighting for P3 for that podium spot. There are only 4 minutes left in this race session. Christopher Smith goes a bit wide there onto the marbles. Or I don't know, is it even marbles? I think that's more. I think that's more of the gravel. And loses a lot of time. Now what is happening back there? Neil Killen against Dennis Blumat. Current leader in the Amateurs Championship. Against someone who would like to take that position away from him. He's looking down the inside, but that is costly. That is time without slipstream. And if you want to get a dive done, that is not what you want to do. Neil Killen will probably stay behind for these next couple of corners. And he'll have to hope that he can maintain the gap. Oh, and that is looking very, very close. Dennis Blumat will not go onto the defensive. Very hard braking zone right here through the chicane. Oh, those guys pushing the cars to the absolute limit. Over the sausage cups, you can see the cars flying. Incredible racing right here. Neil into the hard braking zone. Neil Killen will have to close that gap of 0.4 seconds if he wants any chance to get a move done. But now Dennis Blumat has the better consistency, at least in this lap, and will walk away with his 10th position for now. Oh, this midfield is very, very contested right now. Mark Verlinden also looking for an opportunity to get past Neil Killen, and now the attacker has to go defensive. Now Neil Killen has to worry about what is in his mirror and not what is in front of him. Now Mark Verlinden trying to go to the outside, but it won't work there. Oh, that is a very tiny gap. And it is closing more. Oh, they're basically bumper to bumper. And now, any moment, I think we can expect a move from Mark Verlinden. Or not. Neil Killen has gotten that corner way better. And has now opened the gap up a bit more. In the back, Sander Trachier against Patrick Rosendahl. Sander Trachier has lost that fight, and now Rosendahl up to P13 and is now attacking Mark Verlinden. So this seems like it's being given down the order who has to look into his mirrors and defend. This will be the last lap of the race. And everyone will be looking for a last minute move on their opponents, but the gaps are increasing. But Mark Verlinden is back on the tail of Neil Killen. Neil Killen now under pressure. But we have seen that the British driver is faster. So the question is, will he be? So the question is, if he doesn't make a mistake, will Mark Verlinden even have a chance to get past? Because I don't believe so. And you can see Neil Killen opening that gap up beautifully. Now Peter Sikter against Bartosz Kruziewicz up at the front. They're going down towards the last two corners. Very late braking from Peter Sikter, and Bartosz Kruziewicz will not be able to keep his position. And Daniel Thomas, the winner of the first heat race, now through the finish line. Christopher Smith P4, John Bailiff P3, Mats Strand P2, and Joshua Wills will be finishing P8. Now Sander Trachier against Patrick Rosendahl, and Sander Trachier will go through and gain P13. Everyone will go into through the start finish line. Kerry Corcoran in this mildly American livery. And I think that should be pretty much everyone. Only a couple of drivers who didn't have as much luck in the race now crossing the finish line. Among them David Raouli, who was joined at the end of last season and is constantly improving his racecraft and his skill. We'll be taking a quick ad break and we'll be right back. And we are back for the second race. The second heat race, which will last 30 minutes. So double as long as the first heat, which was 15 minutes. Now we'll have a reverse 8 of the so the first 8 cars that finished the race will be in reverse order for the next start. So how these guys just finished will determine where they start in this race. So I will be giving my voice a bit of a rest. And this is of course the calm before the storm. Watching David Wouli warming up for this next race. And warm-up has finished. So in just a second we will start with the next race. And now it's time for the second heat race after evening. And Joshua Wills, who finished in P8, will start on P1 this time around. Now, for the start, I think this camera is the best, so we will be using that one. Now, Joshua Wills in first, Christian Martrek on second, Peter Sichter, who didn't have much luck in the last race, now has a chance to do a bit better here, as he will be starting in third place. Bartosz Kluziewicz in fourth. Incredible performance from him this weekend. And now the lights are coming on. With 5 red lights, and it'll be lights out for the second heat race of the evening. Joshua Wills getting a great start now and does have the advantage into turn 1, but he's been challenged by Christian Martrek, who is going down the outside. But Joshua Wills should have the advantage because he has the inside, but Christian Martrek will go through and take first position. Now what is happening a bit further down the order? Mats Strand already on P5. That is, he's going forward phenomenally. And here, as he's already gained 2 positions, and John Bailiff, who's right behind him, has to fight to maintain his, which is P6. Now I think Peter Sichter and Christopher Smith are both in the same team, as they have a very similar livery. They are now fighting for P3 at the moment. Look a bit down. Patrick Rosendahl is fighting against Mark Verlinden. We're too wide, but now Patrick Rosendahl has lost that battle. Neil Killen was looking a bit to the inside of the driver in front. Oh, and that is a bit of a... That was a bit tight for the drivers. Now 3 wide. That is Sebastian Ferreira, Mark Verlinden. And now Patrick Rosendahl has backed out. And Mark Verlinden will be taking their position. And Patrick Rosendahl will now be attacking Sebastian Ferreira. Now through goes the number 218, which is Owen Goodrum. Now towards turn 1, Owen Goodrum against Patrick Rosendahl. And Patrick Rosendahl trying to go the... Oh! And Patrick Rosendahl is out. Patrick Rosendahl has crashed. Now he'll be out of contention for this one. What's happening at the front? Mats Strand. Oh, they're being held up a bit, it seems. Now Mats Strand in P4, I believe, as Joshua Wills is somehow not shown as part of the battle. But I think whoever that is in front, I think that's... Yeah, that should be Peter Sichter, is already building a gap. Of course, there's Christian Martrek to consider, who is already building a huge gap to the other drivers. Now Bartosz Kluziewicz is closing in on Daniel Thomas, who has not made it that much progress. He's only on P5, so he has gained 3 position, but not Strand. looking a bit better as he has gained 3 positions. So he does have a bit of so his chances are looking a bit better, at least right now. And the drivers will finish their first lap. Now I hope that our timing will be right. Yeah, Matschrand now in 5th. Joshua Wills in 4th. Christian Matschrand will be leading the race. Joshua Wills is looking for a gap, which he probably will not find. At least for now. Now in the back there's Sander Trachier against Dennis Blomart. Dennis Blomart better exit onto the outside. But he will have to stop that attempt. There's not enough overlap to get a move done. Went down towards that fast left-hander into turn 9 and 10. And the gaps are looking like they are increasing. John Bailiff against Matschstrand now. Matschstrand on the inside, but John Bailiff looking a bit faster there. Now, who will break later? Look very similar, Matschstrand and John Bailiff still side by side. And there's only minimal room given by John Bailiff. And of course Daniel Thomas looking for a way past against his not championship rival. But a very strong contender. And John Bailiff will go through into P5. Now Matschstrand against Daniel Thomas. Daniel Thomas will go on to the outside, but that is the longer line down towards turn 1. Now Daniel Thomas has the advantage, but Matschstrand will break a bit later, and Matschstrand will stick with P6 for now. John Bailiff to the outside. It touched a bit of grass there, and he's down to P8. Now side by side with Bartosz Klusiewicz, and he will go back up to P7. But that was a lot of time lost. Oh, what is happening? In 3 wide right here, Harold van Herde against Dennis Blomart. Dennis Blomart will take 9th. Oh, what battling. This is incredible. Now Harold van Herde against Dennis Blomart. Then towards turn 9 and 10, the gap is looking a bit bigger now. I do have to say that there was some more exciting battling going on at Fuji last week. Oh, what has happened? Owen Goodrum against Neil Killen. Owen Goodrum to the outside. Neil Killen will have to give up the fight for that position because he just cannot hold that line into that corner. But it is still looking very close. But the gaps are increasing, only 7 minutes in, and we have almost no battles left at the moment. But this one, Neil Killen against Owen Goodrum. Goodrum is looking a bit better, and that will be Harold van Herde. What happened? He'll be... Oh no. No, that is so unfortunate. Oh, we'll be getting back to life. As everything has calmed down a little. In the front there's still Christian Malczarek, who will now have to defend against Peter Sichter, who I believe is the faster driver. You can see him in the back there closing that gap. Now we do have a driver in front. I don't know who that is. It could be Sebastian Zaug. I'll just have a look. Yeah, that is Simon Zaug. And if he's lucky here, Christian Malczarek will be able to gain some slipstream off of that. Peter Sigter has closed the gap down now to below 1 second, so he's moving in ever closer, and Christian Maltrek will have a problem in just a minute. But now the gap is increasing again, and Simon Zaug letting Christian Maltrek through. I don't think that's what he wanted. I think he would have liked some more slipstream, but now Peter Sigter is also being led through. And what is going on here? A fight between 3 pro category drivers, Joshua Wills, Mats Strand and Daniel Thomas. Current leader in the pro category. A three-way fight for P3 it is. And the big question is, of course, where has Christopher Smith gone? Mats Strand looking to the outside of Joshua Wills, but there will be no room for him there. We'll have to stay behind him for now. Gap below 0.1 seconds. And it's looking very close in general. Now the big question is, can Mats Strand make a move on Joshua Wills and get past before Daniel Thomas can make a move on him? Because that would be devastating. It's overtaking really difficult here and down to the inside Mats Strand, but it will have no use against Joshua Wills. And I'll just keep driving. John Bailiff, who was in P7, has now used that bad exit by Daniel Thomas to close the gap. Oh, that's a little touch on the back there by John Bailiff, but it will not be enough to get past. Now Mats Strand against Joshua Wills. Mats Strand to the outside. Down towards turn 1, Joshua Wills will have to defend on the inside, and it's too wide into the first corner. And Joshua Wills will be able to keep Mats Strand behind him, but he would have to do that for another 29 minutes. And I don't... and 19 minutes, of course. And the question is if he is capable of that, if he can hold that position for that long. And Daniel Thomas pressuring Mats Strand from behind. A train of 4 cars now all behind Joshua Wills. Will have to defend very aggressively to keep those hungry guys behind him. Christian Maltrek still fighting with Peter Sigter. Peter Sigter looking a bit faster, but the gap is only going down very slowly. But that is something to look at on the leaderboard for. Now Mats Strand to the inside of Joshua Wills, and he will get past. Joshua Wills now down to 5th, and Mats Strand up to 4th. And Joshua Wills down the outside of Mats Strand. He's trying to gain that position back, but oh, what a fight. Now Daniel Thomas against Mats Strand onto the start finish line. Joshua Wills now down 2 positions, and Mats Strand against Daniel Thomas. Question is, who will win that battle? They're going down towards turn 1, and Daniel Thomas has the advantage, both in speed and in track position. And through goes Daniel Thomas. Joshua Wills also wants to get past Mats Strand again. Mats Strand is forced over those with sausage curbs. And that is a very unpleasant line to take. When Joshua Wills against Mats Strand, they're still too wide. And through the right-hander over the sausage curbs, Mats Strand's car will get very unstable, and Joshua Wills will go through, and now John Bailiff is on the inside of Mats Strand. This is going terribly for the Norwegian driver. Bartosz Kruziewicz also through. So in a couple of seconds, Mats Strand has lost 4 positions Oh, that is terrible for him. I don't think that's what he wanted at all. Now Dennis Blomart is right behind Mats Strand. Now onto the start finish straight. The question is if anyone can make a move with the slipstream here, but it's not looking like it. Now Christian Maltrek against Peter Sigter. Quite battle playing out at the front. Oh. Joshua Wills against John Bailiff. John Bailiff down the inside, and he will go through. Joshua Wills down to 6th. But it's not over yet. Joshua Wills, very close gap. Will he go down the inside? He will. He will. But there's no room for him. John Bailiff just cuts him off. Oh, and Bartosz Kruszewicz looking for a gap. Mats Strand looking to the outside of Bartosz Kruszewicz. But it will have no use. There's no room for him there. And Joshua Wills still trying to find a way past John Bailiff. Now we've not seen a move through this left-hander right here, and because the run-up is too short to really get alongside. A move there would probably end in a crash. But these drivers are looking desperate, so let's not cross that off the list of possibilities. There's some very hard battling going on right here. Now half the race is already over. 15 minutes have passed and 15 minutes are left. We'll go to the front. Christian Maltrek against Peter Sigter. Down towards turn on 1. Peter Sigter will go down the inside. Push will be the outside for turn 1. So Christian Maltrek has the advantage there. But on speed, Peter Sigter has the advantage. And he brakes later, and Peter Sigter is through into P1. Christian Maltrek down to P2. And this battle here is still going on. Joshua Wills against John Bailiff. We'll go a bit down to watch a new battle that is formed. Sebastian Ferreira against Tom Carter. And it's also looking very interesting. Both are doing, at least Sebastian Ferreira doing his best to not let that gap open up, but it has now. So I think it's time we go back to Sander Trachier, who is fighting against Mark Verlinden. And Sander Trachier is through up to P10 for him now. Mats Strand now against Joshua Wills. These two have battled before, and we even looked at it. Oh, very bad exit from both of them, but Joshua Wills has gotten the slightly better exit. Oh, Frederik Smith seems to be out right now. That's pretty unfortunate, but Mats Strand against Joshua Wills. Now onto the start-finish straight. Maybe he'll be able to make a move here, but I think the gap is too big and the straight is too small to try a move into turn 1. Yeah, that's looking like the gap going down to 0.2 seconds, but it is nowhere near enough to get your car alongside. And Sebastian Ferreira has closed the gap to Tom Carter. Now there's only 0.3 seconds between him and Tom Carter. Really bad exit there, and Sebastian Ferreira sees the opportunity to go to the outside. And he will have no luck there. Maybe he'll get a good enough exit to try and move down the inside. No, he won't. There's still a 0.2 second gap. But what is happening up front? Matstrand against Joshua Wills. The gap is going down tremendously. And these guys are driving bumper to bumper. Simon Stark being caught in the crossfire of this and will let everyone past. But that is also a very dangerous game to play. Down into the last two corners of the track, and Matstrand looking very good here. If he can get a good exit, that could be his ticket up to P7. And just looking very good. 0.1 seconds. Now he will go alongside Matstrand against Joshua Wills, and Matstrand is through defensive line into the first corner, as he already knew that was coming. That aggressive move from Joshua Wills, but he has successfully defended, and now that gap has grown on to a respectable size. So Matstrand will not have to worry about Joshua Wills anymore. But Joshua Wills in turn will have to worry about Dennis Blomart and Sander Trachier, who are fighting right behind them. Dennis Blomart originally in the amateurs category, but he's fighting amongst pros at the moment, it seems. But of course Bartosz Turcevic, who is also originally in the amateurs category, currently underway in P6. So both these drivers, very good performances. And I think this just shows again that these classifications don't really tell you the full story. Now it's Dennis Blomart against Sander Trachier. The big question is, can Dennis Blomart defend against the car in this beautiful bright yellow livery? This is a very colorful championship, I've realized. Oh, something very important happening right now. Sebastian Ferreira down the inside of Tom Carter, but he won't be able to make the move, won't be able to make it stick, and now Sebastian Ferreira will be stuck in P15 behind Tom Carter in P14. So we'll take a look back up the order. Sander Trachier still fighting with Dennis Blomart and Mark Verlinden. It's also very, very close here. And Sebastian Ferreira still fighting with Tom Carter, but it's not looking like he's getting past anytime soon. But now Sander Trachier against Dennis Blomart. Dennis Blomart, bit defensive there, but he has moved over. And Sander Trachier won't try and move into the chicane, but there is still bumper to bumper, and any move could be coming any moment now. Sander Trachier looking for that gap, but he won't find it for now, and so he will stay behind and hope to get a good run onto the start finish straight to maybe get past into the first corner. Now 2.25 seconds between them. Is that enough to get alongside? That is the question now. It is not looking like it. 0.15 seconds. No, that is not enough to get alongside. We need a way better exit out of the last corner for that one. but they're still really, really close, and this will be a fight I think that will be one of the deciding ones in these last couple of minutes in this race. Sander Trachier fighting to stay with Dennis Blumert. Now to the outside goes Sander Trachier, but there's no chance for him in that hairpin. Dennis Blumert will be keeping that 9th position, and this is some beautiful defending we're looking at right now. Sander Trachier looking for a gap again. And now he only has 6 minutes left, so about 4 or 5 laps. So this could be critical. What has happened? I didn't even realize that Sander Trachier has gotten past Dennis Blumert. Wait, I will have to look at that in the replay. So Dennis Blumert goes wide, and then it's just Sander Trachier just goes through. That looked so surreal in the moment. Yeah, but now he's gone. Sander Trachier is absolutely gone, and Dennis Blumert is left defending against Mark Verlinden and Owen Goodrum. So I think there should be about 3.5, 3 laps left. And so Dennis Blumert only 2 more laps until this is all over, until he can confidently say that he has finished in the top 10, but now it's Sander Trachier against Joshua Wills. This could also be a very interesting battle. And what is happening behind the gaps are looking very, very close. The Owen Goodrum, he will get past Mark Verlinden. Just off screen there. But Owen Goodrum now aiming towards Dennis Blumert. Currently in P10 down towards the chicane. Oh, and something very interesting is happening up front. Peter Sigda has caught up to Christian Malczarek again. And Christopher Smith right behind him. So these are our leading guys into the last. It seems like 3 laps of this race. No. Peter Sigda is opening that gap up again. His teammate behind might be able to get a bit closer, so that could really help Christian Malczarek if these 2 team colleagues fight right now. But he won't have to hold that position for long. Only 3 minutes left on the clock. And so after this one, there will only be 2 more laps in which he will have to defend. Now, in the last lap, Christian Malczarek was, I think, about 0.9 seconds faster than Peter Sigda. So maybe there was a pass just then. I think we'll look a bit further down the order. Oh, I thought there was something interesting happening here. I think we'll go back up to the front as Christian Malczarek has lost quite a lot of time as the gap has now shrunken down a lot. Now Christian Malczarek, last lap, 0.2 seconds slow. And what happened right there? Peter Sigter lost a lot of time. Christopher Smith up to P2. And now Peter Sigter against his championship rival Daniel Thomas. Daniel Thomas to the outside. But that is the worst lines we have learned in this race so far. And now Daniel Thomas back down the inside. But these are very difficult areas to make a move. But they're still too wide. Now Patrick Sigter will have the inside. Now they're back bumper to bumper. Peter Sigter will go defensive and then block Daniel Thomas's line. Some very aggressive racing we're watching here. Now the question is, they will do another lap, I think. So Peter Sigter is not freed quite yet. He will have to hold his position for one more lap. This will be a very interesting race. And now it's on 0.3 seconds. These are the championship. And these are the leaders in the Pro Championship. And only 22 points are between them. Now I think this gap will open up because Peter Sigter finished a lot worse in that first. Oh, Peter Sigter having some oversteer there, so that will lose him a lot of time. And Daniel Thomas right back on his bumper to the outside, but there's no use. Oh, Peter Sigter going very wide there, and now Daniel Thomas is alongside with Peter Sigter. And it will be too wide through the fast left-hander. Peter Sigter around the outside will have the better line, or will at least be faster, but now it's a left-hander that gives Daniel Thomas an advantage. And Peter Sigter will go past again. Daniel Thomas going wide. Oh, and Peter Sigter again having some oversteer. These are very he has had a lot of issues with oversteer, and that will be enough for Daniel Thomas to get past. And this will be it for Peter Sigter. This will be the end of the fight. And he will have to concede with P4. Daniel Thomas now getting his podium spot. And this is the hero of the race, Christian Malczarek, the hero of the hour. Will finish first in this second heat and last heat of the evening. Incredible stuff from him. Incredible defense against Peter Sigter. Now Daniel Thomas, I think the winner of this weekend. Safe to say. He will gain a lot of points. Strand. This race didn't turn out like he wanted to, but still a great result for him. Mia Killen's car looking a bit beaten up there. There was no one he could fight in those last couple of minutes. And he will also go through to finish the race. And these are the last couple of guys to finish the race. Now, JCR Gabriel we're looking at right now. I think he was battling a bit further up the order last time around, but luck wasn't on his side this time, it seems. Now coming down towards the final corners of this race. Joao Gabriel will finish the race in P24. What a race, ladies and gentlemen. This was very important for the championship. And I'm excited for next week's race. If you want to experience these races for yourself, there is a link down in the description for the Discord of the GRL community. You could also search up GRL in iRacing under the leagues tab to also find the league. And now thank you so much for watching this race. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope to see you all next